Hey there, everybody. Jim here from Best Online Marketing Consultants. Welcome to our webinar. I kind of struggled with what to call this. Usually, with a webinar, you're ending up with a pitch of some kind of product or service to sell. And that's really not what this is about. At the end of this, there will be no offer of some kind of special deal on any of our products or services. This is really all about fostering a conversation with the business community. Now, a lot of you out there, business owners, are in fact doing most of your marketing yourselves, and I get that. It's very desirable to be able to save the funds that you would be spending on a marketing agency, and for this reason, a lot of you do that, particularly at the beginning of your business careers. Uh, but the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of things that you need to know about the marketing world and about what you're doing, particularly with your online marketing, that you can't find readily or in one place, because essentially people that do what we do would rather, sell you the services and do it for you. And so they, foster a level of secrecy as if, well, it's all very arcane and difficult to understand, which it's not. It's not. There is a lot of it, but there's not really any big secret. There's nothing that you can't find different places, but there's a lot of things to take into account. And it's important to think about it in certain ways. So let's go ahead and dive in and we'll talk about the question at hand. We asked the question that brought you to this webinar of whether or not your website reflects your brand strategy, and then makes that statement that it should. And that's true. It really should. So let's start with that. Does your website reflect your brand strategy? It's kind of a question because a lot of people would have no idea what that even means. Is brand strategy just some industry catchphrase that people use to confuse the uninitiated, or does it have some important meaning? Well, it's kind of somewhere in between in some respects. But the big question then becomes, can you implement a brand strategy yourself? And of course you can. You've got to understand a lot of things. It all starts, though, with understanding your business model. If you're not understanding your business model, then you're not going to be able to put together an effective and appropriate brand strategy, which is the public face of your business and your business model. Let's talk about this right up front. Market disruption is not a business model. It's a catchphrase that you hear all the time ever since Uber, I think, is when it really became just blown out of the water. People talk about the fact that they're going to disrupt their marketplace. Well, not every marketplace needs disruption. And if you are going to go about disrupting the marketplace in your particular market niche, you've got to know, number one, why you're going to do it. What is it that about your marketplace that needs that kind of change? And number two, how are you going to do it? Okay, so to say, okay, let's talk about it in terms of Uber. We're going to disrupt the marketplace by, by putting drivers out there to share rides with people who are not in conventional taxi cabs. They're using their own vehicles. What need did that fill? Well, the taxi cab business, due to capital requirements, weren't able and aren't able to put sufficient vehicles on the road in secondary and tertiary markets to make it convenient for riders to get where they want to go in a timely manner. And also that makes it very expensive. So Uber rightly saw that there was an opportunity here, and they were able to disrupt the market. And understand, when you disrupt the market, there are repercussions as well. They had some blowback. They had some problems with municipalities, with states, all kinds of things as far as the laws regarding taxi cabs. A lot of that has gone by the wayside. You see that now there is Lyft out there as well. That market has successfully been disrupted. But note, there was a reason for that. The taxi cab industry was unable to serve the needs and wants of the marketplace. Now let's discuss this aspect about your business model. Your brand strategy, the public face of that business model, has to be in harmony with all aspects of your business model. Now, what do we mean by this? Let me give you an example. I used to do some marketing work with a company who was in the industrial lubricant business. And they had a client that manufactured and sold sewing machines. And they were approached by a supply chain person to see if they couldn't find a way to use lubricants that would stop some of the parts failure they were experiencing. And this particular individual within the organization felt he was doing a good thing. Utilizing the products from the company I was working with, they were able to eliminate 90% of the parts failure with the sewing machine that they were manufacturing. Here was the problem. Their brand strategy, their marketing efforts were all geared towards selling a sewing machine at the lowest possible price to sell a large number of machines. And what they were doing was just breaking even on that upfront purchase. Where all of their profit was coming from was from the sale of, you guessed it, replacement parts when they failed. This almost did this company in. Now, how does this apply to what we're talking about here? Well, as there was a shift in their business model to try and eliminate parts failure, there should have been likewise a change in their brand strategy. They needed to shift away from the idea that they're going to sell their machines up front, either at just cost or even at a small loss, in order to get those customers into their funnel and sell them replacement parts. They just couldn't do that and fix the problem they were having with parts failure. So again, your brand strategy, how you go about interfacing and communicating with the public in your marketplace, has to be in harmony with all aspects of your business model. Now, let's bring it back to your website. How does your website reflect your brand strategy? Well, for most companies, their website is in fact their public face. We're not living in a yellow pages world anymore. People are going to find you online if they're going to look for someone in your industry, or they're not going to find you at all. So this needs to be taken into account in all that you do in marketing. This is the centerpiece of your presence with your market. And so as such, you kind of got to take every aspect of putting that website together into account with your brand strategy. You're starting from the ground up. So let's begin with whether we're starting on a brand new business and building the first website, or if we're taking an existing business and replacing that website, where do we begin? To begin from the ground up, you've got to decide what platform you're going to build that website on. Now, I can't stress, you've got to put together a site with a good look and feel. You've got to have a good content strategy. Your content strategy is all about what information people are finding on your website. There need to be specific calls to action on the website, telling your visitors what exactly it is that you want them to do. If they don't find something to do once they're on the website, there's no point for them to have ever come there. You need to decide what your sources of traffic are going to be. And so let's go back, as we said, to the beginning and talk about the look and feel of your website. How is that established? As we touched on a moment ago, this starts with the platform that you're going to build. For about 98% of you, that means WordPress. What is WordPress? WordPress is an open source, free to use platform that's called a content management system. Is it the only one out there? No, it's not. But it is the most commonly used one, to the point where 23% of all websites on the internet are built on WordPress. few of you out there are hearing this and saying, yeah, that's that blogging platform, and I really need a site for my plumbing business, or I need a site for my pizza restaurant. I really don't intend to be blogging. Well, fair enough, but really WordPress has evolved far beyond just a blogging platform. It's referred to as a content management system because that's exactly what it does. Whatever type of content you're publishing, you're able to manage that in a way that will accomplish your goals. Are there others out there? There are. Probably the next two most common are Joomla and Drupal. And you may find that you have a developer who prefers one of these over WordPress. And there's nothing wrong with that. There just aren't nearly as many options as far as that goes that there are with WordPress. And if for whatever reason you end up needing to use a different developer, something happens to the one that put your site together, you're going to have a harder time finding a quality person that is familiar with that particular platform. So as I say, about 98% of you, you're going to end up going with a WordPress site, and you should. Those other percentages of you that need something a little bit different, it's generally speaking going to have to do with some aspect of the content or the data that you need to pull into your site. And sometimes there's some specialty coding that has to take place that makes it a little cumbersome to do in conjunction with WordPress. And then you might be looking at Microsoft's .NET platform or some other platform similar to that. And then again, you're talking about specialty people. There's no lack of those, but you may be looking nationally as opposed to locally to find those type of people, depending, of course, upon the size of the market that you happen to be in. Now, again, we're going to talk about this as if we're going on with just WordPress, but it applies equally to Drupal or Joomla. You're going to start with a theme or a template. This would seem like it really doesn't take a lot of discussion because there are a lot of really good themes and themes out there for WordPress that can accomplish pretty much anything that you want to do. But a lot of the developers you're going to talk to will tell you that they really prefer, as opposed to using a commercial theme, to building one of their own and customizing it. In most cases, I would advise against this. Here's why. A lot of those developers you're going to find are one-man shops. They're the only person that is working on their projects. They have no support staff. Why is that important? Well, let's say he gets hit by a bus. What then? WordPress updates fairly regularly. And if that theme is not updated to match the new code with WordPress, it won't stay secure, it may not stay functional, and you may find that that $7,500 website that you were so proud of, and no doubt it was a great site, but with that developer out of the picture, it's next to worthless. It's very important that, quite frankly, my developers could easily customize their own themes as well, and frequently do. But instead, we use one of a couple of the excellent themes out there put together by companies with larger support staffs. Again, later this year, we're expecting a very large WordPress update. If we were going with one of our own, we'd all of a sudden have to work like mad to update the theme that we had built custom for each and every client to make sure that they were compliant and compatible with the new version of WordPress. Whereas when you're using a good commercial theme from a good shop that has a good support staff, they're keeping up with even the WordPress updates that are coming out before they're there. I actually found out about a good deal about the next WordPress update from one of the email updates that I got from one of my theme providers, and couldn't be happier with the product that they put out. Every time there's a new update with WordPress, their theme updates automatically. I don't even have to worry about it. And understand, for our clients, we update the plugins and the themes on WordPress and check for those updates each and every day automatically. And that's something that needs to be done for everyone's website. Again, whether it's WordPress, whether it's Drupal, whether it's Joomla, the updates have to be done continuously by your webmaster or whoever it is that does that type of work for you. Your logo and branding. The look and feel of your website needs to be harmonious. It needs to be synchronistic and synergistic and all of those things, and harmonious with the look and feel of the rest of your marketing messages, your print advertising, your social media profiles. It's important that when your web visitors see one of your ads, it sparks that bit of familiarity so that you can, in fact, establish a relationship, so to speak, before the first word is spoken. And that's a very, very, very important aspect of your branding. You want to be creating a voice, even with just the look and feel of the message you're putting out there, your color schemes, your logo, what style of logo, how it, what kind of a message does it evoke? Does it say that you're forward looking? Does it say that you are looking to foster a relationship based on things in the past? And that's a viable business model, but it is something that you need to know as you're going about your logo and your branding efforts on your website, as well as throughout your marketing pieces. Navigation of your website. Number one reason people leave a website is because of poor navigation options on that front web page. Google penalizes you badly for your bounce rate. Bounce rate is the percentage of people that come to your website and leave within 30 seconds without clicking through to another page. Now, if they don't have any viable options or reasons to click through to another page, you're going to lose that website visitor. Most websites have a bounce rate of over 50%. If you can get yours under 50%, you're winning that battle. Navigation is the key, of course, as well as your content, but navigation is a big key to being able to keep that visitor on your site long enough and there not be a bounce. Next is, let's face it, we live in a digital world and in a mobile world. We're all walking around with smartphones in our hands and in our pockets and our purses and whatever kind of place we might carry them in. And we've got essentially a computer in our hand that's more powerful than what was used to put man on the moon the first time. It really is a remarkable piece of engineering and technology. But is your website being rendered in a way that is reflecting what you want the visitor to get out of the experience of coming to your website? Is it the same experience whether they're on their computer, a desktop computer, a laptop, a tablet, a mini tablet, or a smartphone? It needs to be. There are tricks to this. There are things that you have to take into account as you put this together. And quite frankly, an iPhone isn't, an Android isn't, the same as any other phone. There are things that need to be looked at as you're putting this together. Again, we're talking about the website, the public face of your business. In many cases, this is the first thing anyone's going to find out really about you and what you do. More and more people are coming upon that website for the first time on their cell phone. You got to keep that in mind as you're putting this website together. Now let's go on and move and talk about the content strategy of your website. Content marketing is a big deal today and should be. It's been a big deal for a long time, but it's been called a number of different things at different times. Now, content strategy of your website is going to start with the requisite content, the stuff that you have to have there. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand is that you're going to be really penalized by Google if you don't have a privacy policy. Fortunately, it's really not that difficult to do. A lot of people wonder, gee, how can I possibly come up with a privacy policy? That's a pretty complicated undertaking when you read some of them out there. That's true. Google privacy policy. You're going to find a lot of examples, and you'll find that it's quite easy to edit them into a format that is applicable to your specific business model and reflects your actual activities. Because that's the thing. Don't just copy and paste someone else's privacy policy over and assume that it applies to what you do, because it very well may not. Are you making offers, affiliate offers off of your website? Your privacy policy needs to reflect this. Are you, for whatever reason, with or without permission from your clients, selling their information? Of course, this is a big no-no, but there are times when you actually are selling their information to somebody, but it's with their blessing. It still needs to be reflected in your privacy policy. So your requisite content also would have things like contact us, about us, all of those things that are essentially just, the back end. You might think of it as your website, but nonetheless, it needs to be there. Next, there are your primary pages. Primary pages are the static content, the stuff that's going to be there primarily without change day in and day out. I say without change. Over time, it can and should evolve as your business does and as the marketplace does. And it also needs to reflect your primary offers in your business. These pages are what a lot of people are going to come to first. Not always, because we're going to get into that a little bit later, but the primary pages, again, these are the pages that are in that primary navigation across the top. Makes them pretty important, doesn't it? You've really got to keep that in mind as you're putting together the website, what kind of content you're going to put there. You don't need to have 90 some odd pages up there in your primary navigation. Quite frankly, as I put sites together for my clients, I like to have 5 to 7 options, and 7 being the top option. And if there's absolutely more things that have to be included in that primary navigation, I'll generally speaking use drop-down menus and make them sub-pages that can be found under another one in the same topic. Really, really is an art form as far as making sure that you're not overwhelming people and giving them too many choices, but you're giving them the options they need to make a decision and to find the information, frankly, that they were looking for when they came to your website in the first place. These all come into effect when we're talking about your brand strategy. Now let's talk about the decision of whether you're just going to go with static content or you're going to use freshly updated content. I really can't stress enough, I encourage, actually do for most of our clients, we're providing freshly updating content. This is what a lot of people are going to say, oh, okay, you're asking me to blog. I'm saying you need to post articles about your industry, about your market niche. Why? Glad you asked that. Because the fact of the matter is, have you ever heard it said that people do business with the people that they know, like, and trust? Becoming that person, what you're essentially seeking to become, is a center of influence or an authority in your marketplace. There is no better way to do that than by supplying your prospects, the general public, with expert information. And you do that by posting articles to your website. And if you want to call it blogging, I'll be happy to call it blogging. And frankly, a lot of you may be in an industry where you feel, well, you see, I have to do that myself because we're heavily regulated. Well, that's not necessarily true either. I'm not saying you're not heavily regulated. I'm saying you don't necessarily have to write it yourself. My team of content creators have written articles for lawyers, for insurance agents, for financial planners, and had them approved by regulatory departments, by compliance teams that made sure that that was all in harmony with current regulations. Doesn't mean you have to do it yourself. Can you? If you've got the time. Now, most articles you're going to post, you want them to be somewhere between 500 and 1,000 words. My content people, the good ones, can knock out a high quality article, including the graphics for that article, in around half an hour. Is that something you can do? Is it something you really want to do? These are the questions you've got to ask. Again, I'm not here to sell you my services. I'm here to help you understand what the questions are, and whether you decide to go to a marketing agency or not is up to you. But it's something that you need to keep in mind as far as this particular aspect in particular, because you may be able to articulate in a conversation what the voice and feel of your business is, but can you put that in words on a written page? Is that something you can convey? Be careful how you answer that question. And what you might want to do is try writing an article, don't post it, and have someone else look at it and see how they feel about it. And ask them honestly, someone you can trust. If you read this on a website, would you have faith in this person as an authority in their market? Again, that begs that question, who will write the content? You've got to ask yourself, can I do it? Do I need to have it done? Now, you can actually have it written by other people without hiring a marketing agency. You can go and find ghostwriters all over the place. There are several excellent ones that are friends of mine on Facebook. All they do, usually in one particular niche. One of my good friends on Facebook, if you're in the real estate market niche, Barbara Grassi. She does a bang-up job of writing content about real estate. She is not a full-blown marketing agency, but she does write for clients. Very, very good to know that there are a lot of different ways to go about that and good options. It's really not that expensive. Then comes, ta-da, social media integration. There's no doubt about it. We live in a social media age. All you have to do is watch the news to know that. Regardless of whether you're talking about the news and politics or business, it all is going on social media. And your website needs to interact with social media. Their options need to be there to remind people to share that content. Make sure that people have the ability, with the push of a button, to share a page or a post on your website to their own Facebook wall, to Twitter, to Pinterest, to Google+. These are all very, very important websites and powerful for your business. It's how your website gets legs. So your website must have social media integration if it's going to effectively reflect your brand strategy. You ignore that at your own peril. We talked before about calls to action. If someone doesn't do something once they come to your website, there's no point for them ever having come there, is there? But how do they know what to do? Tell them. And it has to be a strong and direct call to action. More and more often I see websites that were put together by the business owner themselves with calls to action, something along the lines of, if this is you and you would like more information, then click the link below. Or if this is how you feel about things, if you have this problem, you might want to fill out the form below. No, those aren't strong, those aren't direct. You're asking the reader to make a judgment call. So give them the information about what's going on, then don't qualify it. Just say, learn more, click here, fill out this form, call us now. Any of these is acceptable, but they've got to be clear, strong, and direct. You can have any number of medium whereupon they can contact you. Call now. Put a button there so that if it's on the phone, they can just from the site, they don't even have to punch in the numbers. They hit that button and their phone calls you. Email us today. Have a link where they click on it and their own email server, own email client pops up on their screen with your address in the to field. Or even simpler, have an online form so that you can collect their information, including what it is that they need from you right there. But again, whether it's any of these, call now, email now, fill out this form. It's got to be strong, it's got to be direct, and there should be several options. You really need to have more than just one way for people to contact you because people have their own preferences. A lot of people don't like to fill out a form. They want to call and talk to somebody over the phone. Give them that option. Even if you can't always man those phones, have it set up with voicemail and then be sure to turn around and contact them quickly. These calls to action need to be consistent all over your site, and they need to be frequent. Every page at the top should have the ability to click the button to call you. Every page should have some form of request or direction, I should say, not just a request, but a direction for them to take action. Many opportunities as possible. Again, you're trying to get them to look at as many pages as possible on your website for one purpose and one purpose only, so that they will eventually take action. And once they are motivated to take that action, you want them to be able to do so quickly, immediately, and simply. Immediate response. Again, you've got to have, if you're not going to be answering your phone, you've got to have voicemail and turn around and respond to those immediately. If it's an online form, you've got 24 hours. Then they're going to forget that they filled it out or why. And they might not even, take a look in their inbox. Make sure that if you are using an online form, you're collecting a couple of different ways, if possible, to contact them. Ask for an email and a cell phone number. I always specify cell phone because it makes them think about the fact that, they want to get that call right away. So you've really got to make sure that your turnaround time on those contacts from the calls to action is immediate. Now, again, we talked before about static content versus stuff that's constantly updated. Well, on your website, you're probably going to be doing some promotions. You're going to have calls to action that are separate from the day-to-day stuff that have to do with special offers you're having either seasonally or event-based, any number of things, or maybe just based around one particular ad campaign that you've run someplace. So you've got your static calls to action. Those are there all the time, and those that are going to come and go. Make sure that you are handling these with different forms, that if you're asking them to call about it, that they know exactly what to say as far as what they are calling about. Hey, I'm calling about that Labor Day special that's coming up. Hey, I'm calling about your back to school sale. Hey, I'm calling about the special you have for lawn maintenance once the grass stops growing. However you want to phrase it, but make it something that sticks in their mind. They know exactly what to say they're calling about, so you can see what's working and what isn't, and that it was a call about a promotion, or was it just a day-to-day inquiry off of your day-to-day content on your website. You're going to find that your promotional ones come and go, and they may give you big peaks. But if you're doing your job right, those static ones are performing as well. Very, very important. So now let's talk about a biggie. Probably the biggest struggle that most business owners have once they've got their website. How do you get eyes to look at that website? Big question, and really not rocket science, but even people in the marketing industry, they struggle with this, and they really don't need to be quite honest with you. It's simple and straightforward, but it is broad-based. We find that on average, once we take over traffic generation for our clients. In pretty short order, we're able to just about triple most of our clients' targeted traffic. Understand, we're not talking about just going out for broad-based traffic and people that come and sit on your site for 15 seconds and take off. That doesn't do you or anybody any good. The first source of traffic for anybody's website always needs to be search engine optimization. SEO. This is how people are going to find your business. Google is today's Yellow Pages. So, if people go to Google and type in your geographic location and your business niche, are you going to come up not just on page 1, but in the top half of page 1? It's really a big question. But understand something, with search engine optimization, that's only one of the questions. We talked before about your content and the articles that you write. The titles to those articles need to be the types of things that people are going to ask questions about, the types of things people are going to be putting into a search. Gary Halbert, the famous copywriter, said the only advantage he wants in any marketplace is a hungry crowd. Well, a hungry crowd can be anything from someone whose roof is leaking to someone who just found out that they've got to put together a wedding to take place in their backyard and needs catering and all manner of things, to someone who just bought a rental house and found that the grass is 18 inches high and they need to get somebody over there to cut it right away. That's a hungry crowd. Are they going to find you if they type the kind of questions into Google that people do? Understand, people Google like they talk. People will actually type in something like, I've got a clogged sink in Tampa, Florida. Yes, that is a common type of search query. You need to make sure that the articles that you're posting are going to rank for their titles on the search engines and be the kind of things that people are actually searching for. Very important. And if you do that right, again, it's not all that complex, but it's something you've got to think about every time you're posting content. It's something you've got to think about if you want the right people to find you on Google. And remember, that's the Yellow Pages today. Search engine marketing. What's the difference between search engine marketing and search engine optimization? Now, a lot of times people will say, you notice that I've got PPC, which stands for pay-per-click. It can also be pay-per-view, pay-per-action, all types of these things. But what we're talking about is, you probably have noticed that when you go to Google and type in your search, that frequently at the top of the search, there'll be a couple of ads before the organic listings come in. This is something that you can and should investigate, but if you cannot invest a substantial amount of time and effort into learning how to do this properly and staying up with your ad campaigns, then you need to do one of two things. You either need to set it aside and say, this just isn't for me for the time being, number one, or number two, I need professional help. This is an area that I've run very effective campaigns with pay-per-click marketing through Google, but I find that seeing as I am not spending all of my time on that, I'm better having on staff groups of people who do that for me and who all they do is keep up with the split testing, the landing page design, the keyword research, the ad writing that's involved in doing effective search engine marketing campaigns. It is a great source of traffic, and it is immediate. It's the kind of traffic you can turn on like a water spigot and turn off when you choose to as well. And it's very targeted because it's driven by the right if it's driven by the right keywords, you're only going to get the right people looking at your website. Now, I'm going to talk to you a second here about a practice that is controversial. If you're doing this yourself, and I actually spoke with a prospect who was actually doing this practice. He was running his own campaigns, and he didn't like the fact that he had to bid higher than he really could afford for the keywords he wanted in his campaigns. So what he would do is he would go on those searches and he would click his competitors' campaign ads until they disappeared because they'd used up their daily budget. This is what is called click fraud. Make no mistake, it's theft. You are stealing the ad budget from your competitor. Okay? Now, Google says that they monitor this stuff and that they'll come after the people that do that based on your IP address. Actually, it's usually they can tell who it is just by the patterns of ad spends and things. But the important thing is they can and will find you when they want to. Now, does that mean that they're out there every day beating the bushes looking for the people guilty of click fraud? It doesn't. What it means usually is when that competitor of yours complains to them because he is a paying customer of theirs, that's when they're going to come after you. And they will come after you not just for the monies that you defrauded that other merchant of. They'll come after you with massive penalties, and you will be banned for life from participating in the Google Ads platform going forward. Your business will never be able to run ads there again. That's a pretty stiff penalty in and of itself. So again, search engine marketing, great source of traffic. Yes, it is paid traffic, but as such, it's very targeted and can turn on traffic like. More and more important are the social media strategies. You can and should be distributing your content from your website through social media so that those people who have liked your pages or followed your account on the various social media platforms can share it with their friends. This is how things go viral. This is how you become a center of influence, because people are sharing the people that they've found that they know, like, and trust, giving their friends the opportunity to do the same. Know, like, and trust you too, and that spreads through the business community. Social media strategies cannot be stressed enough. Again, we're going to be doing more videos upon brand strategy for social media later, and we'll talk about the various platforms and which ones that you should be doing. Let me share that with you up front here anyway. Obviously, Facebook, Google Plus. Now, a lot of you are going to tell me, oh, I hate Google Plus. I understand. But Google loves nothing so much as they love Google. As long as they have the platform, you need to be using it. Not necessarily for the eyes that are going to see your content, but you want it there so that Google knows that you're using their services. They will reward you with better search engine rankings. Generally speaking, Google Plus is the first place that my team will share an article just so that Google sees it immediately. So, Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest. Again, I get a lot of blowback about Pinterest, people that don't want to do it. Pinterest provides more website traffic than any other website other than Google. That's right. It provides more website traffic than YouTube does. And YouTube is the #2 search engine on the internet. Pinterest supplies more traffic than Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn combined. And of course, lastly, there is LinkedIn. You've got to be doing LinkedIn, particularly if you're in a B2B business, but LinkedIn remains an important place to maintain a presence for your social media strategy. Talked again about content marketing. This is going to be a major source of traffic for any and all who engage in it. Content marketing isn't just articles, though. Content marketing is PowerPoint presentations, which you can share easily on SlideShare, which is owned by LinkedIn. It is image curation. It is video creation, which is not nearly as scary or difficult as it sounds. I'm recording this video right now for this webinar through the same software that I use to create the PowerPoint presentation you're looking at. It's not difficult, it's not scary, but it does take time and effort and a certain skill set that you have to develop. Is it beyond you? No. But again, ask yourself, and this is the important question, is this where I should be spending my time, or should I be spending it in my business or on my business? Big question. Offline advertising. Yes, I firmly believe that online advertising is where 80 to 90% of your marketing dollar needs to go. But for many, 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 many industries, offline advertising, whether you're talking about print, whether you're talking about television or radio, whether you're talking about billboards, there are other places that you need to probably be spending that offline marketing dollar. But if you don't brand that with your website address, and perhaps with an email for people to contact you through, then you're missing a huge opportunity, because people will follow that link in your print advertising over to your website. And quite frankly, most of the places you're buying print advertising, a newspaper, a magazine, whatnot, they're also posting that ad online where that website address becomes a clickable link. This is definitely also an important source of your website traffic. Now, here's the toughest question for most businesses. A lot of you who are doing it yourself probably feel that, this is to you. But the question of how much should you budget for your online marketing? It really is something you can approach a couple of different ways. Here are the formulas I usually use with my clients as far as recommendations, or just people I'm talking to out in networking events and such. Let's talk first about budgeting for your website and your brand strategy using the Yellow Pages method. If your business was around during the age of Yellow Pages, back before the mid-90s, when things were not an online world, then you know what you were spending on your Yellow Pages ads each and every month. And no doubt it was no amount. Well, your website budget, if that was a major part of your marketing, needs to be 1 to 2 times your monthly ad spend. So let's say that you were spending $4,500 a month, which some of you are going, my God, that's an awful lot of money. Other of you are saying, actually it was a substantial bit more than that. Well, you need to take that and say 1 to 2 times that amount is what you need to spend just to build your website. Now again, if you're going to do it yourself, there isn't that cost. There are going to be some costs associated with it, because there are some graphic work that you're going to have done, logo creation and the like, as well as some paid plugins, some things that you're going to need to purchase, such as images. Do not just go around the internet and copy images off of other people's websites. This will rapidly get you sued for $10,000 or more for using a copyrighted image. You've got to make sure you've got the right to use it. There are a lot of great places to get images. There's Shutterstock and the like, where you can buy very inexpensively some great images. A site that I and my team like to use as well, where you can get them at no charge, is Pixabay, Pixabay, Pixabay.com. You'll find everything from images, vectors, some video clips, some great graphic work, all there, right there for the taking without any cost whatsoever. Now, what about your ongoing budget? Your ongoing spend on your marketing costs should be budgeted out at 1/2 to 1 times that monthly ad spend. So again, we said with the website budget, if you were spending $4,500 a month on your Yellow Pages ad, you would spend between $4,500 and $9,000 on your website, depending on how big and elaborate you wanted that site to be and what the functionality needed to be. Your ongoing budget would then be anywhere from $2,250 a month to $4,500. To some of you, this is going to sound like a large budget. Some of you, it's not going to sound like all that much. But now let's look at it another way. Perhaps your business isn't 20-some odd to 30-some odd years old, and you don't have that. So let's talk about budgeting your website and your brand strategy for a post-Yellow Pages world. What we want to do here is take your monthly revenues, and your website budget needs to be 20% of your monthly revenues. I'm talking about gross receipts, not net. So if every month, on average, you're doing roughly or projecting to do $100,000 in revenues or sales, then what you want to do is spend $20,000 on that website. Now, ongoing, I think here, your ongoing budget needs to be 10 to 15% of revenues. Now, this is, you're going to say, is not exactly matching up dollar-wise to what we said back with the Yellow Pages spend. There's a difference between a business that has been around a while and one that is brand new and coming on the scene in this world, and that's why there's a little bit difference in calculation. So again, let's talk about a business with $100,000 in monthly revenues. Then you need to look at the website for $20,000. If it's $50,000 a month, that would then be $10,000. Ongoing budget, 10 to 15% of revenues, $10,000 to $15,000 a month. This is assuming certain types of markup. If your markup is right around what we in the industry used to call a keystone markup, or you're marking it up 100%, or it's also phrased as 50% markup. So in other words, if you're selling something for $1,000, is the product cost to sell that $500? If that is right around where your business model is, then this model works perfectly. If it's drastically different than this, you probably need to talk to somebody in the industry about how to calculate an appropriate budget. And any good marketing consultant should be able to give you a good range. Anybody who starts to tell you that you should be spending half of your monthly revenues on marketing, just laugh and walk away. That's ludicrous. There's really very, very, very few businesses where that would be appropriate. I've seen a couple, but they were very special situations. And they should be able to show you specifically how you could do that profitably. So, we've kind of covered a lot of ground here. Hopefully now you can think about what all we've talked about and answer the question of whether or not your website has a brand strategy. Is it reflecting the brand strategy that you have set for your business? You know what that means. You know that the brand strategy is that public face and is the way that you are interacting with your market. Now, at this point, you need to write yours down and you need to make a plan to implement that strategy, because as you've seen, there's a lot involved. And if you don't take that step and write these things down, how can you possibly hope to address them all? You can't. We in the industry, we're not doing this all from memory. We've got it all written down. We know exactly what the strategy is for each of our clients and how we're accomplishing those, how that brand strategy is reflected in each and every piece of the puzzle that we've talked about. So I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this, and hopefully you found it informative and gave you a few things to think about in terms of your own marketing efforts. True to my word, there's nothing that we're asking you to buy for this information. This isn't all a lead up to a big sales pitch. Yes, we do in fact take on private clients, and the web page that you're on here probably does, actually no doubt, has a clear call to action if you'd like to find out about having a free, or I shouldn't say free is a very specific legal word, a no cost consultation about your marketing efforts and putting together a effective brand strategy that reflects your business model. We're more than happy to do that. That's what we do every day, is talk to people about this. And then, if you like, we can talk about the possibility of us helping you implement what needs to be done. But that's, again, once we've gone ahead and made sure that you understand where you need to go and where you want to go to meet your business goals. So once again, thank you. Appreciate you taking the time to watch this introductory webinar to Best Online Marketing Consultants. And I hope you have a great day.